This podcast is produced by Sunnydale Studios.
I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we record this podcast today and pay my respects to their elders past and present.
I'm there to seduce myself. So it's not uncommon that in a lap dance I get really wet.
I'm very horny. I hate poo. Hate it. Like, it terrifies me.
I went down on him and I kid you not, it felt like I was licking a fucking toilet bowl.
That is so unladylike. Welcome back to another episode of So Unladylike. My DMs are still recovering from the overload of messages responding to last week's episode. So I promise no more sex talk. No, I'm just kidding. As if, yeah, right. Today's guest is an empowering, authentic woman who also happens to be a stripper, a mum, and a body casting artist. This episode, we will share Tamara's most unladylike moment, and if any of our guests can beat Robbie and Katie's from episode 1, I'm putting it out here now, I will legit give them $100. That's out there. It's out there now. If you can beat Robbie and Katie's from episode 1, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and have a listen because it is insane. We will discuss our vulvas, their diversity, beauty, and the shame and embarrassment we carry around the appearance of our own. Working as a mum and a stripper, and answer all your juicy listener questions, and add a worthy addition to Ness's burn book. But first, let's welcome the amazing Tamara.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming on. We were just saying off air that the last podcast we did was on the Journey to Worthy podcast.
Yeah.
And it was over Zoom because it was during lockdowns and COVID fun times.
All the things.
And it's just so nice to see you in person.
Yeah, so great. So fun to be here in the studio and to be able to do this IRL.
IRL, FYI. And FYI, for those who are listening, not watching this YouTube video, Tamara's wearing a bluey top. And I love it. Yes.
Because I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
I'm a cool mom. We're unladylike mums.
Yeah.
Okay, so first we need your so unladylike moment. This is one of my favorite parts. Oh my God, it's so unladylike. We've had some doozies from season 1 and then obviously Robbie and Katie's last week.
Yeah,
which
I did hear that one. It was gnarly, very intense.
I got some mixed responses to it and that's okay. Everyone's opinion is valid and welcome. But what's yours? What is your so unladylike moment?
Okay, so when I was working in the club one night, in the strip club, it's not uncommon because when I'm in that space, like, I go in there to seduce myself. I'm not there to seduce the man or woman standing in front of me. I'm there to seduce myself. So it's not uncommon that in a lap dance I get really wet.
Really?
Yes. Juicy, I know. And this one particular day, I was at the very end of my bleed and I wear a cup. And so I was like, yep, she's in. It's all G. And anyway, I'm having a dance and I could feel something like juicy in between my legs. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, if it was just me getting wet, usually I just like, rub it into my thigh or something.
Bit of moisturiser.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, a little bit of moisturiser there just to stop her from like dangling out. And then
it does, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. Like a little string of it.
The
string.
I describe it as
the side.
Whack it to the side. I describe it as like egg white.
Yeah.
That's very much what it's like.
Yeah. And so I just continued my dance, kept going, and then there was more of it and I was like, what the fuck's going on? Look down at my thighs and I kid you not, I had smeared blood all over the inside of my thighs. Luckily, the guy hadn't noticed and the lap room was pretty quiet at this point and I fucking panicked because I'm like, all I've got to put on is a tiny little lingerie, like tiny little piece of lingerie. So it's not like I can even cover it up to run to the bathroom. So I did this most awkward run to the bathroom, like trying to like not be seen. Yeah, it was just super awkward. So I was like, never again.
And what had happened? Had your cup overflowed? Not in the good way of fill your cup. That's not what we mean, guys.
No, not a good way to fill your cup. No, I think I just hadn't like suctioned it in properly.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit of leakage.
Yeah.
That I wasn't expecting. And I was like, oh, I'm just very, turning myself on a lot today. And I was like,
so wet.
No, that's not egg white.
It's still coming. Yeah. What's going on? I'm very horny.
Yeah. So that was embarrassing.
Wow. Wow. It's I wonder what his reaction would have been though.
I wonder if there are people that have actual kinks for that. There definitely would be.
100%. There's kinks for everything. Yeah. Some of the stuff that I've heard about, I'm just like, what the – yeah, like the OnlyFans. All right, let's talk about unladylike moments. I have a friend who had a shit video request.
That just reminds me of the Two Girls, One Cup video that was out like 20 years ago. Do you remember that?
Do I not know this? I don't know this.
Oh, girl. Two Girls, One Cup?
No.
So one of them shits in a cup and then they like, how does it go? I'm pretty sure they like eat it and then spit it back into the cup and then they just continue to like eat it and spit it back into the cup.
Well, and someone likes that?
I remember this like going around when I was like in high school. So it would have been like 20 years ago, 20 years ago. And yeah, that was like the grossest thing at that point.
My God. Like, okay, so no kink shaming and all, but I hate poo. Hate it. Like it terrifies me. I've got gastro anxiety. Yeah. Like if I hear that someone's had gastro, I might put a mask on and stay the fuck away from me. I do not want gastro. I just fear poo germs. Like, oh yeah, no, wouldn't work for me. Like seeing on porn how they go from ass to mouth. That I'm just like, no, go wash it, go shower, just take it. No, not about
Even
it.
When my partner goes down to me, I'm like, can you just go like wash your face?
Yeah, do you know my husband and I, we have a shower. I know it takes a spontaneity away from it, but we wash our bits out of respect for each other beforehand. Yeah. Or he'll send me a text from downstairs, wash up. And he doesn't mean wash your hands for dinner.
I feel that. It's like, you don't want that tangy taste, Right? Oh, one time, this is a pretty gnarly story. So I was, a while ago, I was dating this really gorgeous man, like absolute like Greek god. And
was it Jason Momoa? He's not Greek, mind you.
No, but like looks similar to him, like those kind of vibes. And first time we had sex, I went down on him. And I kid you not, it felt like I was licking a fucking toilet bowl. Like, just like, I'm like, mate, do you not like
the smell? I feel sick.
The taste, the smell, everything. It was like,
that's rude. It's disrespectful.
Yeah. I was like, you just went from a 10 to a 2, mate.
Yeah, you're done. You know that thing, that trend at the moment? She's a 10, but you could do, he's a 10, but he has dick cheese.
Yeah.
It's just respect for me because it's like, like if you've taken a shit today, it doesn't matter if you've wiped your ass or not. If I'm going to be licking your balls, it's near your ass.
Clean
and I want it to be clean. Yeah, I'm a bit of a germaphobe, so I like my genitals clean, cleansed.
Yes.
But yeah, this shit video, like he sent her step-by-step instructions and she was showing me the videos and I was just like, I don't understand. And that's okay. I don't have to understand. Women are earning money from shit videos and good for them. You have to go every day anyway, right?
Might as well film it.
Why not earn money? All right. Well,
so great.
Let's talk about what you do as a body casting artist, which I love. Yes. So a lot of people, and I know for me as well, when I first think of body casting, I just think pregnant bellies. Pregnant bellies and the bust, the torso. But I love that you do casting of vulvas.
Yes.
That's amazing. And why do you feel like it's so important to remove the stigma around our bits?
Well, so when I started casting, it was really just a DIY project for myself. It was something that, I had a lot of trauma from my birth with my son. I had an emergency cesarean. So there was a lot of internal dialogue that like my body's broken. I can't do the thing that I was designed to do. And growing up, there was a lot of shame around what my vulva looks like. I've got very voluptuous inner labia and when I compared myself to my close circle of friends when we were 10 and we would like have showers and baths together, I would notice like, okay, mine looks a little bit different to theirs. And there was no one in my life that ever said to me, it's normal, everyone looks different. All I had to compare myself to were my friends who like
a very small circle.
Very small pool of comparison. And then like my Barbie dolls.
Well, they don't even have.
There's just flat.
They have no
There's
labia.
Nothing there. There's nothing there. So there was, I remember this one time I was probably 9 and I was in class and I must have had like a hole in my underwear or something. And I was sitting down, when you're that age, you don't really care. You just sit down, cross your legs and skirt, whatever. And this boy across the room looked over, and because a bit of my my underwear were ripped and a bit of my labia was poking out, and this boy across the room pointed and goes, "Oh my God, look, you have a ball sack." And that has stuck with me since that age of like, holy shit, this is like, what if other men think that
I look like I've got a ball sack.
I look like I've got a ball sack, or is there something wrong with me, or, you know, all of these stories. And I never had anyone to say to me, hey, no, it's okay. It's actually fine. Like, this is what normal people look like.
And he's 9 and uneducated.
He's a fucking 9-year-old boy.
Yeah, he sees a bit of skin and thinks, oh, look, she's got a ball sack too.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Doesn't understand.
It just like hit me with so much shame, and I held that throughout my whole late teens, early adult life, beginning my sexual exploration. Never let a man see me with the lights on. Like, don't look down there. Like, yeah, we can have sex with like candles and like dimmed lighting, but like, if you're going to go down there, it needs to be pitch black. I don't want you to see me. I don't want you to look at it. Yeah. And I barely ever even looked at it. I couldn't. Really? I wouldn't have recognized my own vulva. And I find that actually a lot with a lot of women nowadays that I work with. Is like, it's interesting when I ask them, if I have like a lineup of vulvas, could you actually identify which one is your own? And I don't know, I feel like a lot of women wouldn't be able to.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because something that I've spoken about on here before is that I have always taught my girls from a really young age, go and wash your hands. Here's a mirror. Go and squat over this mirror. Move things around, get to know your body.
Yeah, that's great.
It's your body. You need to know what your vagina and vulva looks like, look for changes, and know that it's normal. Mm-hmm. And I've got 2 adult children now, and they're very aware if something has changed, whether it's the colour or the feeling of it or something like that. And they'll come to me straight away. And, you know, I remember the first time one of them came to me and said, it's itching. And then after I itch it, it burns. I'm like, babe, you got thrush. Mm-hmm. Welcome
Welcome to the club.
This ain't the first or the last time you're going to have this. So what I want you to do is go to the chemist. You know, oh, I'm so embarrassed. No, I said, walk up there and you say, I need some Canastin, 6-day. You know, don't be embarrassed. It's literally an antifungal cream that people put on their feet. Like, it's not shameful, it's not embarrassing. My middle daughter, for example, showed me a present that she got for her 21st, which was a vibrator pack. And she'd, look, Mum, look what I got. Like, there's no shame in that. Great. Yeah. And I think for people listening to your story, birth trauma there's going to be so many women resonating with that because it is something that we believe from the books and the movies that it's supposed to go a certain way, and we feel shame if it doesn't go the way we want it to, or trauma happens to our body. Yeah. And our vulvas and vaginas look different afterwards and feel different afterwards, and that needs to be talked about, and that is normal and not shameful. I think for me, I was always I was watching porn from quite a young age, and all the vulvas were the same.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well.
The bum holes were bleached, and you know, I just was like, they're all hairless and they're all
this tiny little slit and this tiny little dot. Yeah, like, mine does not look like that.
Mine doesn't look like that, and my asshole ain't pink. What's going on? What's wrong with me? And even my labia were a different color. Yeah, you know, I'm quite dark haired, dark eyed, so I have darker patches on my skin. Yeah, and it just I remember would have been 14. No, I would have been 15, and I shaved it all off. Yeah. And my partner at the time walked in and laughed. Oh. And that's something, you know, your ball sack, that was my moment too. Yeah. That it's funny looking. Yeah. It's, you know, I can't show this to anybody. It's not okay. It's not right. Then I started working at a strip club. And the female dancers were so open with their bodies, and they would literally sit there in front of the mirror. You know, some would put glitter on it, you know, rubbing cream into it, getting it all shiny and beautiful. And I got to see so many different vulvas, and I was like, holy crap. Like, that was a lot of a bigger pool to be comparing to than, you know, 10-year-old friends and Barbie dolls in the bath. But I think the trauma during birth aspect is a really big one. It's something that's going to resonate with so many.
Yeah. And that's really what thrust me onto the path of doing this, because I was like, I recognized a real disconnect with my body that after my birth, I became really disconnected with my womb, with my bleed. There was like a dissociation of like, I was holding resentment towards my body, and I knew that I wanted to rebuild that relationship and come back into a space of really loving and honoring my body for what she did accomplish. And and that started with a vulva cast. I was like, I want to be able to gaze at her and, you know, really just honor her. And so DIY project for vulva cast, and then it kind of just went from there.
Wow. And now you've got your own studio.
Yes.
Got a studio space.
Yes.
So can anybody come and get their vulva casting done?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've had trans women come and have their vulva cast.
What a beautiful experience for a trans woman.
So
a real
gorgeous.
Circle back to I'm having my vulva casting. I've got a vulva. Like what an amazing moment.
Yeah. And it was so, because it was the first vulva of a trans woman that I'd ever seen. So it was really interesting for me to look at it and go, wow, actually, like the finished product, you couldn't tell the difference at all between you know, a person that was born with a vulva and one that was created. Yeah, I looked at the two and I was like, oh, like you can kind of like, if you look closely, you can see where there's like scar marks and stuff, but I wouldn't go, oh, that's a constructed one and that's not. Like it wasn't that obvious. Yeah, so it's really powerful to see that. And she was really open with showing me and telling me like the story of how it all happened. And yeah, that was one of the first vulvas I ever got to cast.
Oh, how awesome.
So yeah, that was really special.
Oh, well, we're going to move on now. I know that our listener questions, there's quite a few around
great.
The vulva casting, which is great. But I want to move on to stripping.
Yeah.
Great. And how it started for you being a mum, how it works with a child. Yeah.
So I am now, as of very recently, officially retired. So
are you?
Yes. So stepped away from that. Now I'm putting more focus in my casting business and my coaching business, and it's served its purpose for me tremendously. So it's time for me to step away now. But I have loved every single minute of the industry and working there. And I became a single mum when my son was 4 months old, and I'd stepped away from a couple of businesses that I'd owned with my ex, and was really just I was at a phase where my values were really shifting from I want to be this business superwoman to I want to spend all day every day with my child.
Yes.
And I had to really, you know, strategize of like, okay, well, how can I support us to still live a really great life and not struggle financially? What's going to be something that's going to support us in doing that? When I first separated from my son's dad, I did step into business coaching for a little while, and then just got to a point in my life where I was like, I'm just repeating the same old habits of just making myself so busy and actually so unavailable. Like while my son gets to be with me all day, because technically I'm running my own business, I'm like, you know, giving him toys to keep him occupied while I'm trying to work on my laptop, or putting a movie on so that I can do a call or do a podcast or take a coaching client. And so it was just like, it wasn't feeling like the way that I wanted it to feel.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and then I decided to step away from coaching for a little while and just take some time to just be in my life, because I hadn't done that for a really long time, ever. So just cleared my calendar, cleared everything that was obligatory, moved to Byron, shaved my head, and then through that phase was like, okay, well, I need to make some income now. I'm not ready to step back into the coaching world at this point. I want to just do something that's going to be really explorative and expansive for me right now. And I was in a group coaching container, and one of the guest speakers that came on that I really admired, I really respected her a lot, she shared that one of the first and most powerful introductions into her sexuality coaching, because she's a sex coach now, one of the biggest things that was the most impactful thing for her stepping into that was when she started working as a stripper. And I was like, oh, permission, cool, thanks. This is something that I'd always thought about doing, but there was so much judgment of like, well, what kind of mother does that make you? What will people think? What will people say? You know, you've been so successful in the past. Is this like, what if people think that this is just like an end of the road because you don't have any other options?
Well, people think you've hit rock bottom if you become a stripper.
Yeah, and it so was not the case for me. It was just like, I want to do something explorative. I want to do something that's going to give me great financial support and that I can do around my son, that I don't like I was always said I was the worst employee ever because I've gotten such an entrepreneurial mind. So like if I don't want to be there, I'm not going to fucking go.
Yeah.
And with stripping, it really gave me that flexibility of like, oh, do I want to work tonight? No, I don't. I'm not going to go.
Yes.
Like there wasn't much like there was no one else really relying on me. It was if I go, I make money. If I don't make money. So
and what a job too, considering the journey that you'd been on with your body.
Yeah.
From that real hatred and anger and feeling like your body had failed you to now this body's making me financial gains.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful vessel it is. And to the point that you were turned on, you were seducing yourself.
Yeah.
When doing this. Like what a full like circle.
Yeah. Well, so I've got a background in the PT industry. So the two businesses that I owned with my ex-partner, we had 2 gyms on the Sunshine Coast. I was bodybuilding and coaching. I ran fitness groups for mums. So it was very much like I always respected and loved my body, but it was from a sense of like what I'm physically capable of. I knew that I was always physically capable of great things, but I hadn't ever taken the time to really love and nurture my body. Like up until the point where I moved to Byron, I had never in my life like cooked myself 3 hot meals a day.
Really?
Everything was like meal prep or noodles or takeaway. Like I hadn't nourished my body in that way. And so like one of the most powerful things that happened that I experienced when I moved down to Byron and just cleared my calendar was I was going to the farmers markets 5 days a week. And for the first time in my life, I was actually cooking myself 3 hot meals a day.
It's the biggest act of self-love, isn't it?
So
Like
much.
being able to nurture your body and feed it nutrition. Like food isn't the enemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it went from food being just fuel because I need to train and I need my macros, like counting my carbs and proteins and fats every day, to actually I'm going to feed my body what's really nourishing and go
intuitive eating, hey?
Yeah, like when I'm bleeding, having more warm foods, when I'm more in my ovulation phase in my summer, like eating to what my body wants at the time, really listening to what my body wants and what my body needs.
What's interesting, I find, if you do listen to what your body wants, it will tell you.
Yeah.
When I had COVID, all I craved was oranges and broths. You know, I just felt terrible. And now I've been eating oranges ever since. Like my body was saying we need some vitamin C. We need more vitamins. Yeah. Like I didn't want the chocolate that I constantly crave usually. I didn't want any of that stuff. I wanted vegetables, fruits, yeah, and that's sort of stayed, you know, like my body's sort of stayed. I still have my chocolate and I still like my carbs. When I'm getting my period, it's pasta. Yeah. Pasta. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. And I just don't ever get full. Yeah. Now, you touched on the fact that you moved to Byron and just threw in there that you shaved your head.
Yeah. just casually. Yeah.
Just casually shaved your head. Because people will joke about things like that being a Britney moment, right? Yeah. And we love Britney. We stan Britney.
We should all have Britney moments.
I know, right? And with what she's been through, like as if you wouldn't say, fuck you, I'm sick of you touching my hair. I'm sick of you telling me how to wear.
It's a reclamation. That's what it is. Like there's like this stigma of like, oh, having a Britney moment, you're losing your mind. No, you're fucking reclaiming yourself. Yeah. And that's really what I was doing when I shaved my head as well. There was a lot of things happening at the same time. So, you know, I had started stepping into the casting as a hobby at that time. I stepped into stripping around about the same time, shaved my head around about the same time, and initiated my breast explant surgery at around about the same time. And it was this full like, fuck what the world thinks. Yep. Fuck what people tell me I need to be worthy of love or to be successful or to be a good mother. This is how I want to fucking live my life and this is what makes me feel good. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And this is how I want to present to the world. And if society tells me that this isn't feminine, well, fuck what feminine means anyway, right?
Yeah,
like what does that even mean?
Strip back all the layers and actually figure it out for yourself. Because the thing that I learned through shaving my head was that my hair had nothing to do with how beautiful I was. No. Nothing to do with how sexy I could be. Like before shaving my head, you know, like you would use your hair to like, oh, it's like flirty and like, oh, I'm going to flick my hair. When you don't have it there, the thing that I felt was exposed, like so exposed. Like there's no hiding. You couldn't put like, because I shaved it to a number 2 buzz cut just for reference.
That's short.
Yeah. So real short, like almost bald. And there's no hiding. It's like you can fully see my face. So in the moment, it's like it was super triggering for the first couple of weeks. Every time I'd look in the mirror, I'd go, oh, fuck, what did you do, Tamara? Why did you do this? But it eventually grew on me and I lent into it a bit more. And it got to a point where I was like, wow, I feel sexy and beautiful, not for the way I look, but because that sexiness is actually just oozing from my skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We put a lot of emphasis on our external appearance when it doesn't mean shit. Because someone who's blind will feel your energy, right?
Yeah.
They'll your personality will shine through regardless of what you look like.
Yeah.
I think I love your head shaved.
Thank you.
For those listening. See, she did the hair flick. You did it. She's got very short hair at the moment. It's dark. It was blonde for a while.
It was blonde for a while. Pink for a little bit in there too.
And I think throwing back to people's perceptions of who people are based on how they look, everyone thought you were queer.
Yes.
Because you had short hair. You know, God forbid someone who's not queer has short hair.
I know, so funny.
With your explant surgery, so we had Davina on here and she has done the same thing. And it was really funny because she grabbed my hand and she's like, feel. There's nothing there now. And I think she'd had a big set of double Ds as well. But she was, she had breast implant illness and she really is in love with her body the way it is now. Being in that industry of stripping, did you, after you had the explant surgery, did you return to stripping?
Yeah.
How did you find that? You know, like I think, I know you shared a bit of your journey and the scars and the thing. How did you feel? That would have been a really vulnerable moment, I assume.
I was excited.
Were you?
Yeah, I felt like a debut, like coming out. It's like first performance, like first time I hopped up on stage. Oh, it was so amazing because all the girls that I worked with, I had to take about 6 months off.
Okay.
Because the scars just took a really fucking long time to heal for me. And I'm quite stubborn. I don't like sitting still either. So I'd be like, oh, yep, they're all good, cool. I'll go to the gym. And then I'd bust a stitch. Yeah. So what was meant to be like 8 weeks ended up being like
6 months.
4.5, nearly 5 months. And then I took a little bit extra time off over the Christmas break. So I had my surgery on the 5th of September 2021. So next week it will be my 1 year explant anniversary, which is
we should have a party.
Exciting.
We should do something. I say we because I want to come. We should do something.
Yeah, it only dawned on me like a week ago. I was like, wow, 1 year. Fuck, it's gone so fast.
Have you done a casting of your boobs before and after?
I did before, have not done after yet. Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, anyway, so when I returned, all the girls had known, you know, I had my implants taken out and they knew that this was my first night coming back. So when I got on stage, like all the girls were cheering for me and like it was just so nice. It was
that's
really
amazing.
Great. Yeah.
And how's your look, I mean, this question, how's your relationship with your body now, I'm going to assume is perfectly fine based off everything that you've said and that you had reached a point prior to that where you knew that you didn't need breast implants to be, to reach a certain level of what society feels a woman should look like.
Well, working in the strip club, I think, was the final piece of like, okay, it's okay to do this because I would look around and I would see all these different women, different sizes, different heights, different hairstyle, different hair color, different, like some girls would be wearing like pixie ears and other girls would be wearing like goth rings in their nose, like every kind of different style that you could think of, every different size breast, every different size butt, every different size belly, every different size thigh that you could think of.
That's a misconception, I think, about strip clubs because if you watch movies, right, where the guys meet up at a strip club and it's very there's very much one look. Yeah. One look. And I mean, I found the same thing when I worked at a strip club is that the bodies are so diverse and you've got mothers, you've got university students, you've got people who were so business minded about it and people just assumed it was all drug addicts and, you know, and there were, don't get me wrong, there were people who were there to support a habit and I hope now that there's more support in the environment than there was then. But no, there was all different body shapes and body sizes and I think we as women compare ourselves to what's shown around us, which is created by men. Yeah. And what men believe is the ideal. Yeah. And which, I mean, it's not clearly because in a strip club, there's so many varying types of bodies. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that there's now so much more diversity in everything that you see, like in the media, in fashion shows, in magazines. There's so much more representation in diversity to show people that like you're worthy of being you know, a model, or you're worthy of being a, you know, whatever it is, regardless of whether you fit this one very specific body type. And so that's what I saw when I first started working in the strip club. Like I would look around at these gorgeous women and the women that absolutely captivated the audience when they were on stage. And if you had have asked me afterwards, like, did they have large breasts or small breasts, I wouldn't be able to tell you. It wouldn't have made a difference. It didn't have any kind of deciding factor in what made them really like.
It's energy, isn't
attractive.
It? It's like, as you said, it's like a seduction thing, and that has nothing to do with how someone looks a lot of the time.
No.
I'd been out for dinner with girlfriends, and we were at White Rhino, and it was just so loud. And I'm at a stage in my life now where I want to talk when I go out. Like I want to talk and catch up, and I can't stand loud noise. I get very overwhelmed. So we went to a strip club nearby just to sit down in the aircon and be able to chat and, you know, see beautiful women. And there were women coming out in these gorgeous lingerie sets, but they weren't feeling it. They didn't want to be there that day. And it made me sad because I was just looking at them and I'm like, you don't want to be here. Go home. Don't be here then. And then this one woman came out and she was in, it was like a Bonds crop top, Bonds briefs. It was a bit faded. It was a bit, and she walked out and I was just like immediately captivated. No makeup, no nothing. She put on the best show. She was so athletic. And people just throwing money at her. Yeah. Just throwing money. And I was like, because you make me feel like I'm having a good time because you want to be here. And I guess that's
she knows her worth. She knows that.
She knew her worth 100%. Whereas the girl before her, I'd actually said to my friend, I just want to go and wrap her in a worthy shirt and take her and get her to come to sit down with us because she doesn't want to be up there and it's making me uncomfortable. And I don't want her to be up there. And so she did not know her worth that night. Maybe she does other nights. Maybe she had to be there for financial reasons, whatever the case was. But 100% energy is everything.
Yeah, totally.
So we're going to go to listener questions now.
Yay!
Now, yay! Listener questions are fun. Now, this one doesn't really apply. Let's pretend you're still stripping.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. And I guess you could answer it for people who are listening who are in the sex worker industry, whether that's escorting, stripping. Maybe this will help them if they've got a young child in the future.
Yep.
What would you have told your child about the work that you do when they're older if they asked and you were still stripping?
Oh, I'm so open with my son about it all. Like he doesn't have the reference of what a strip club is. And because of his age, he's 4.5 at the moment. I'm not going to explain it to him for obvious reasons. However, like I would show him my shoes, and when I would be, you know, dropping him off at his dad's house on the way to going to work, he would see my shoes and my bag in the back of the car and he would know Mummy's going dancing tonight. Yeah. Like there was conversation about it. And when he's older, I hope that I have raised him to be so open-minded that there's not going to be preconceived judgment. Like, yeah, you might find it uncomfortable if like, you know, his friends find out or whatever. But
that's more to do with the fact Mum's naked. I don't want people thinking of my mum naked.
Exactly. But like the stigma and shame around it, like I'm going to be super open and honest with him and answer any questions that he has, because that's how we continue to break these stigmas around things. Like I was a mother, son, like let's say in 10 years time, like yes, I was your mother and you were young, and I was also a woman in my mid-20s that was beautiful and sexy and wanted to go make money. So that's what I decided to do.
Our worth isn't based upon just being mothers
no,
either. Like there's
we're
women,
also fucking humans.
We're humans and we're sexual beings, and we are allowed to have friendships and relationships and a life outside of motherhood.
Yes.
And I think with what you're saying that you are raising the next generation of men to help break this patriarchal bullshit, because the patriarchy affects men too in a really negative way. Yeah. So when we're fighting for change, we're fighting for you too, guys. Yeah. You think we're against you, we're not. Join us on this, because it's not beneficial to you either. It places men on, gives men expectations of what they're supposed to do in their life as well. And I think having a son who is open to vulvas, like you've Tamara's got a video on her Instagram. Is it on your Instagram or the
both? It's like collabed between them both. Yeah.
Okay, so on Tamara Northam.
Yeah.
And it's a video of asking your son what a vulva is.
Yeah.
And it's really, really beautiful. And I watched it about a 1,000 times. And I shared it on Journey to Worthy Official because it's really beautiful to talk about these things with children and to understand anatomy because it's just anatomy.
Yeah.
So there's we don't have shame in our house saying penis, testicles.
Yeah.
We make jokes too, you know, but vulva and vagina are two different things. And it's funny because someone pulled me up on a post I made where I was talking about vaginas and how we pee out of them. And someone's like, you don't actually pee out of your vagina. I'm like, touche. I know. I am aware. We don't pee out of our, you know what I meant, but you're right. But for him to know that, the reason that I feel it's so important is I once read an article where a child was testifying in court or speaking in court, and because they said pee-pee, they didn't say the actual anatomy. They couldn't use it because they need to know the actual words. And so I've brought up Kalani saying this is your vagina, and if anything ever hurts there, you need to use that word. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but when it comes to going to the doctors or talking about anything that's happening to it, you need to use vagina or vulva or labia.
Just like you're saying, just to be able to communicate about their own body, like that should be a basic thing that we all are taught as small children, to be able to communicate about our own body. Like imagine if you didn't know the real words to your face, for example, and you're trying to say to someone, hey, like I've got a bump on my chin, but the word that you use for chin's choo-choo. Like I've got a bump on my choo-choo. People are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like it's a basic thing. You're taught the anatomy of your face. Why are you not taught the anatomy of your genitals? Doesn't make fucking sense.
I'm just going to let that land because that is so true. This is an elbow. Yeah. That's not a pee-pee. It's not a little willy will. No. It's a fucking penis, man. Yeah. Our local shops is called the Pines, and we call it the penis. When Kalani was younger, she thought it was called the penis. Yeah. So she was like, are we going to the penis? And I'm like, it's the Pines. But now she's 10 and we still call it the penis. That's and people over here and it's like, oh my God.
That's so great.
But yeah, that's amazing. We call a nose a schnuffer. So maybe I've got some work to do.
If they still know, like,
she does know.
Yeah,
she does know it's still a no.
But it'd be different if you're like, we don't use the word no, we call it we don't use nose, we say schnuffer. Like, how weird. When were we taught that?
And also teaching boys, like you can learn about your penis and your testicles, but no, don't talk about a woman's vagina.
Yeah.
And even
it's like men's business and women's business.
It's not.
Oof. Guess what? My son's probably going to grow up one day and potentially have a wife, potentially have a daughter.
Yeah.
I want him to be able to support her as well in the things that she's going through. So I'm very open with him about my bleed. He knows like that it's a softer time for me and that we're more gentle with each other and we take baths and like it's really nice. So what it also is enabling him to do to support the women better in his life as he grows up, because he's got a little sister as well. So he's on his dad's side, he's got a little sister. So when it's time for her to bleed, he's like, they can be open about that and he can be a really great support person for her through that.
Yeah.
And also, like, the fact that I'm open with him about the stripping and about everything, I know that there's never going to be anything that he could do or say or want or be into that he would feel shame around coming and telling me.
And also having that respect for women that I think even having a mum that's worked in that industry is like, these are people, not just objects. And even though men are, taught to treat women as just means to an end for them.
Yeah.
They can sexualize us, but if we sexualize ourselves, then we're sluts or hoes or whatever.
Yeah.
Our job is to not necessarily raise children, but raise adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're raising this adult.
Yeah.
Who I just want to duplicate because you are such a beautiful mum.
Oh,
you are such a beautiful mum. And that video that you shared with him talking about the vulvas was just beautiful. I might share it again. I might share it in the So Unladylike stories because it's so beautiful. I think everyone should watch it.
Thank you.
Anyway. Now, if you had a daughter, would you want her to work as a stripper or in the sex work industry?
If she wants to, fuck yeah.
Yeah, cool. I think that is answer enough.
Yeah.
Do you find dating difficult whilst in that world?
No.
Okay.
No.
Expand.
So, at the start, so when I first stepped into stripping, I also committed to 6 months of celibacy for myself.
Wow.
So I kind of like, it wasn't even on the radar for me the first 6 months anyway. So
now I want to talk
that.
about that. That's I've got to pin that. Yep.
Okay. So for the first 6 months wasn't even an issue. After that, what I found was there was a lot of my own stories that I had to work through of, you know, a king isn't going to want you if you're stripping, or the kind of quality man that you want is not going to be okay with you working in this industry, or is not going to want to share you, etc. Blah, 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 blah. And they were all just that, all just stories, because I have met and dated beautiful men that have known that I've been working in that industry. And because for me, it's not like I was in it because of my own pleasure. It brought me pleasure. It brought me joy. I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
And it was also a way that I was supporting myself.
It's financial independence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm going to support myself, and I'm also not going to allow a male to tell me what I can and can't do to.
And that comes down to
make
your
money.
self-worth, right?
Yeah.
So what you'll tolerate in a relationship, you'd probably know very early on if they were the
Yeah.
right fit.
Yeah.
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 And it just requires a level of transparency as well. So, you know,
Yeah.
as soon as I would go on a date with someone, it would be one of the first things that I would discuss. Like,
And
there's no hiding it.
With their reaction, like you'd be able to gauge pretty quick.
Straight up. Be able to gauge like, okay, this is going to be problematic. And then I would choose to either remove myself or, you know, give them space to share what their stories are. 'Cause often, so what I had experienced was that the men that I was attracting into my life, they either had never even dated a stripper before, or they had, and they had a really bad experience. So it would just require super vulnerable, open conversation.
Yeah.
But I didn't really.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you haven't had difficulty. But hang on,
I think that's
celibacy.
also because my projection was like,
Yeah.
this is what I want. This is a part of my life. This is actually a part of who I am. And so if someone's going to have a problem with that, then they don't fit in my world. They don't
Yeah.
fit in my life. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Celibacy.
Yeah.
Now, is that just penetrative? Is that just dick in hole? Is that just sex, or with self-pleasure off the table too?
No, so I'm still self-pleasuring.
All right, we're okay then. That's
Yeah,
good. I don't know if I could do 6 months.
No,
with no self-pleasure.
I think as females, like we are receptors. So we like, I'm sure people have their reasons, but I can't fathom a reason for what purpose would I choose to stop having orgasms?
Pleasure. Yeah. It's so relaxing.
Yeah.
And releasing.
Like,
and
great for your health.
Feels great. It's good for menstrual cramps.
Yep.
Good for de-stressing.
Yep.
We were also talking about I'm 42. As we move into menopause, women's vagina and vulva skin becomes thinner, more fragile,
Yep.
more prone to cuts and things during sex, and masturbation brings more blood and moisture to the area, which is actually really good for the vulva and the vagina.
So great. See? Great for your health.
It's so good for
Masturbate
you.
daily.
And you glow nice after. It's
You
good for your skin.
You do. Yeah,
Yeah.
mine was the intention with that was because I was noticing a pattern coming up in my life of like, okay, I finished dating someone, who's next?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to really just bring that focus inward, create that pleasure and arousal and erotic connection with my own body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Now, what is the creepiest request you've ever had at a strip club? What do you mean there were no creeps? Come on.
They're
surely
actually
something.
all pretty tame, to be honest.
No, that's good. I shouldn't. I'm like, oh, that's
Sorry
really
to
good. That's
disappoint.
actually really good.
Yeah, I like. We did get elicited for prostitution quite a lot. Like, that was not uncommon to have a guy say, "Hey, will you come back to my place? I'll pay you XYZ." So you just have to be really firm with the boundaries around like, this is my workplace. You respect me in this workplace, and I'm here to do this. I'm not, I'm not here because I offer other services. If that's what you want, go to a brothel. That's fine.
There's literally places for that.
Yes. So I would just have real firm boundaries around that. Yeah, I'm pretty ruthless around like what I expect, and because of that, I only ever really had pretty respectful conversations with people.
Well, I mean, that's not disappointing, but also
yeah,
for content
Sorry
reasons,
to not giving you juice.
But no, that's good. That's good. You gave us plenty of juice in your So Unladylike moment when you thought it was juice and it wasn't. because you had your stripper profile, you had a separate Instagram for Strippergram. Yep. I find that those requests, those crazy different requests tend to, when people can hide behind something. Did you get any online, maybe via DM? Did you get a shit video request?
No.
What are you doing wrong? Why?
No, I didn't.
No, good for you. No, that's good. That actually does make me happy because that means that, you're being respected and online being respected. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know I met someone?
I get like sugar daddy messages all the time. I'm like, just deposit here, please.
Oh my God. I met someone, just deposit. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
I met someone the other week who is in a relationship with someone who she met through him sending her a dick pic.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, wait, what?
How does that work?
How did you aren't we turned off by this? Unsolicited dick pics? Do we not? We find this not okay. Now you're together. All right. Each to their own, I say.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, I'm raving a red flag. I'm like,
yes. What are you doing, girl? Consent and boundaries. Important.
Yes. Yeah. Literally the relationship has started with a boundary overstep.
Yeah.
Like you're sending a dick to someone without even asking if they'd like it first. That's that's a consent thing.
Yeah. I'm not okay with that.
Flag, red. Have you, when you've been casting vulvas, ever had anyone experience pleasure during their casting?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I want to hear more about it.
Yeah. So vulva casting is such a beautiful experience. It's I was speaking about this on a podcast that I did recently, and it was the first time I've ever really gone into depth of what the vulva casting experience is like in comparison to breast casting or any other part of the body. So any other part of the body, like if it's your boobs or your butt or whatever, it's a really fun energy that's in the studio. You know, I get my big pussy energy playlist out, and it's like, you know, we're listening to Pussycat Dolls and Nicki Minaj and like all the badass bitches and just having a fun time, having a laugh, having a chat. Vulva cast is very different. So through the vulva cast experience, it's really a ritual.
Okay.
Because it's such a delicate, sensitive part of the body that does hold, like it's such a powerful energetic portal as well. Like we birth life through our womb and through our vagina. And when we have trauma, our body soaks that in. Our cervix, like if you've ever heard of de-armoring, it's actually a thing that your cervix holds trauma and will get tighter and tenser the more trauma that you have. So there's a practice called cervical de-armoring where you like literally are just massaging the walls of your upper vagina and your cervix to soften the muscle and to let it relax post-trauma.
Yeah.
And so I knew that there was a lot of trauma that women held in their vulvas and in their vaginas.
And it might not be the fun experience that other parts of the body might be.
Yeah, and it's also a part of the body that like not a lot of people have had someone directly look at or had someone touch other than their doctor or their partner. So I hold that with such high reverence.
Yeah.
And so the space that I create is a space that like you can, like anything that you feel right now is so welcome. I have women bawl their eyes out on the table because I start with like a nice it's just touch just to get their body used to
I'm touching
my
you.
touch because I didn't want it to be this clinical, like you walk in like when you're going to the gyno or when you're getting a pap smear, you walk in, you get on the table, blanket down, yep, cool, you're not looking at the doctor and she's talking to you, distracting you while she inserts the speculum. It's very uncomfortable, and your whole body, like even if you're open and comfortable with that, you still like there's so much contraction in your body. And I really was so committed to making sure that when a woman came in and got a cast of her vulva, that the energy that was going to be put into that vulva cast was going to be open and soft and love and just receptivity. So, you know, I've had women cry on the table. I've had women feel in their pleasure because there's also, I've got to lubricate the area for the materials. So instead of just, you know, whacking on some lube and rubbing
like getting
an
ultrasound. This will be a bit cold, squirt.
It's like I get some really nice massage oil and I'll like massage her inner thighs and then massage the outer labia and then up on her womb. And so in that, if she's feeling pleasure, I make sure that she knows beforehand, like that is also so welcome. If you want to cry, you're welcome to.
See, I'd be worried about that. I'd be worried about, what if I feel like I'm going to have an orgasm? What if I feel like this is really pleasurable? That to me would be something that would put me off wanting to get it done.
Right.
So what you're saying is that is perfectly welcome.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in whatever you're feeling during the practice.
Exactly. Like it's not
for that, by the way.
It's not for that, no. Like
it's not a happy ending.
No, there's no like clitoral stimulation or anything like that. It's purely for the purpose of softening your body into receiving my touch and for us to connect so that you can really feel safe in the space. That's the purpose of it. And whatever comes through that is welcome because, you know, as sisters in the space, my intention is for you to just feel so fucking loved, so fucking held, so like all of you is welcome.
Well, imagine feeling that safe that you can feel pleasure from something like that. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
You're amazing. I love you so much.
Love ya.
Anyway, on to the next question. Have you ever had the silicone bits stick to women's bits?
So I use silicone for the breasts and every other part of the body, but for the genitals we use alginate, which is a material that dentists use to make molds of your mouth, so it's completely body safe and it sets like quite firm. So no, in short, haven't ever had anything stick.
Do women's vaginas and labia have to be shaved?
They don't have to. The casts do come out more detailed when they are, but I have cast women that have kept landing strips, a bit of bush up the top.
Yeah.
It's completely down to preference, but because of the way that if we're taking a direct mold, the more skin surface there is, the more detailed the mold is going to be. Otherwise, when we pull it off and it's got hair, it's kind of just going to pull at the mold a little bit. And, so
and
just
hide a
lot.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I love everything about you. You're just a worthiness queen. I'm obsessed with you. And I want to book in. I want to get my vulva done.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes,
we talked about this with Robbie and Katie last week, and I was like, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. And I think with your permission, I'll film it and, you know, obviously censor it, but share it with this audience as well about the kind of experience it'll be. Yes. And then Katie was like, I'm getting mine done too. And we said, who? And it was you.
Cool.
Yeah, which is amazing. So I would love to off air book that in with you and organise that, and I'll let you guys all know what that was like, and we'll share. And I won't freak out. I promise. I'll be nice and relaxed.
Yeah.
I will shave for you.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much for everything you've shared with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun.
Thanks, babe. Guys, it's time for Ness's Burn Book. Ness's Burn Book. This week's entry is one of our own. It's a woman. It's my old mate, Kimmy. Kimmy, look at me. Kim Kardashian is very well known for photoshopping her images, sometimes to the point of looking like a completely different person, which I hate it for her. I hate it for anyone. I hate that she has to completely change her appearance online for it to feel worthy of a post. I also hate that these altered images are used to sell products. It's disingenuous and ethically and morally shit, in my opinion. This month, old Kimmy was selling Beats by Dre and has taken her Photoshop to a whole new level. An eagle-eyed TikToker, Caroline in the City, noticed Kim's Photoshop fail. Kimmy is looking glam in the pool, sipping a cocktail, wearing her Beats by Dre, and a part of her body is missing. Her traps are gone. These guys right here. I hold a lot of tension in mine, so mine are good. Mine are big. They're erased. Poof, gone. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? What? We need this muscle. It holds our neck up. Like, why are we removing these things? There's a video online and you can see her trap in the video, and then the photo, it's gone. And again, I hate that anyone feels like they aren't worthy of being seen unless they're completely edited. So I do hate that for Kim. And with a massive influence, arguably the biggest influence on females in the world, I don't like this new trend of removing essential muscles and limbs and items of our body that are needed. So our Kimmy is going into the burn book for creating and contributing to another insecurity for women. An actual muscle on our body. There's a new body fashion, guys. Traps are out. So yuck, no thank you. Into the burn book you go. Guys, keep your messages, feedback, and questions coming through. Send it to me over at Journey to Worthy Official on Instagram or at So Unladylike Pod. And I'll see you next week. Same place, same time. Bye, bitches. If you loved this episode, please be sure to subscribe, follow, and rate us 5 stars. Join us on Instagram at So Unladylike Pod and Journey to Worthy Official, and keep sending in your questions, confessions, and opinions. You guys are so unladylike, and we are here for it. See you next week, bitches.